Hey everyone, welcome or welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name's Emily. If you read today's video title, you know we're going to be talking about the books that I am most excited to read that are coming out in the next 3 months. So that's June, July, and August. I'm going to be going in month order and then in order that the books are coming out each month. I know I'm probably missing books. These are just the ones that I know off the top of my head that are coming out. I'm not sure I'm going to buy them right away. Some I do have pre-ordered already. These are books that I will 99% likely order at some point and read. Let's get started on June. The first book coming out comes out June 4th, and that is the second book in the Ruinous Love trilogy, and that is Leather and Lark by Brynne Weaver. This book follows Lachlan Kane, who is our character, I can't remember his name from the first book, the brother of the main character from the first book, and Lark, who's a singer and a friend of the love interest, the female love interest from the first book. So basically this is the synopsis of the book. Contract killer Lachlan Kane wants a quiet life, working in his leather studio and forgetting all about his traumatic past. When he botches a job for his boss's biggest client, Lachlan knows he'll never claw his way out of the underworld, at least not until songbird Lark Montague offers him a deal. Use his skills to hunt down a killer, and she'll find a way to secure his freedom. The catch, he has to marry her first. So, forced marriage. They can't stand each other. Indie singer-songwriter Lark is the sunshine and glitter that burns through every cloud and clings to every crevice that Lachlan Kane tries to hide inside. The surly older brother of her best friend's soulmate. Lachlan thinks she's just a privileged princess, but Lark has plenty of secrets hiding in the shadows of her bright light. With her formidable family in a tailspin and her best friend's happiness on the line, she's willing to make a vow to the man she's determined to hate, no matter how tempting the broody assassin may be. As Lachlan and Lark navigate the dark world that binds them together, it becomes impossible to discern their fake marriage from a real one. But it's not just familiar dangers that haunt them. Another phantom is lurking on their doorstep, and this one has come for blood. The tropes are hate to love, marriage of convenience, grumpy sunshine, he falls first, groveling but make it psycho, touch her, him, and die. So I loved Butcher and Blackbird, the serial killer, basically rom-com kind of book. So I'm very excited for this one. And then I believe the third one is going to follow the middle brother. I believe the first one was the youngest brother, this is the oldest brother, and the third one should be the middle brother, but I'm not positive. Very excited for that. It will be most likely on Kindle Unlimited, as was Butcher and Blackbird, but I'm not 100% sure on that. The next book that I'm excited for also comes out on June 4th, and that is The Wren in the Holly Library by K.L. Lind. The basic synopsis of this is some things aren't supposed to exist outside of our imagination. 13 years ago, monsters emerged from the shadows and plunged Kyrce's world into a cataclysmic war of near-total destruction. The New York City she knew so well collapsed practically overnight. In the wake of that carnage, the monster treaty was created, a truce of sorts. But tonight, Kyrce, a gifted and fearless thief, will break that treaty. She'll enter the Holly Library, not knowing it's the home of a monster. He's charming, quietly alluring, terrifying, but he knows talent. When he sees it, it's just a matter of finding her price. Now she's locked into a dangerous bargain with a creature unlike any other. She'll sacrifice her freedom. She'll offer her skills. Together, they'll put their own futures at risk. But he's playing a game across centuries, and once she joins in, there'll be no escape. So this sounds like a monster romance. So this seems like a fantasy romance, monster romance book. It says it's action-packed and full of steam, fantasy, twisty action and spice, everything you'd want in a book. So I saw this months ago and it looked interesting, so I put it on my list on Amazon of books that catch my eye that aren't out yet. And when I was making this list, I had to include it just because it sounds very interesting. And there is a special edition right now on Amazon that is beautiful. If you'd like to take a look at that, I highly recommend it. I think it's gonna be like a first print special edition, so it's probably limited. Next, a book that comes out on June 11th is Ali Hazelwood's Not in Love. I believe this is part of her STEM romances. It says that Rue Siebert might not have it all, but she has enough, a few friends she can always count on, the financial stability she yearned for as a kid, and a successful career as a biotech engineer at Klein, one of the most promising startups in the field of food and science. Her world is stable, pleasant, and hard-fought until a hostile takeover and its offensively attractive frontman threatens to bring it all crumbling down. So, workplace romance. Eli Kilgore and his business partners want Klein, period. Eli has his own reasons for pushing this deal through, and he's a man who gets what he wants, with one burning exception, Rue. The woman he can't stop thinking about. The woman who's off limits to him. Torn between loyalty and an undeniable attraction, Rue and Eli throw caution out the lab and the boardroom windows. Their affair is secret, no strings attached, and has a built-in deadline. The day one of their companies will prevail. But the heart is risky business, one that plays for keeps. So, forbidden. I don't know if it's like forbidden. So I don't know if it's like forbidden love, but it's definitely workplace romance. They shouldn't want each other kind of thing. They put a deadline on it. We all know how that's gonna end. But it sounds cute. I've loved every Ali Hazelwood book I've read. I still have Love Theoretically and Bride. And then I just bought Check and Mate. So I'll be reading that. That's a YA, so that's a little different. This is going to be another adult novel. But she doesn't miss for me, so I'm very excited for that one. Another book that comes out on the 11th that is also in the romance genre is Catherine Zenner's new book, The Rom-Commers. So Emma's a screenwriter. She spent her life studying, obsessing over, and writing romantic comedies, and she's won contests with. She's also been the sole caretaker of her kind-hearted father, who needs full-time care. Now when she gets a chance to rewrite a script for the famous screenwriter Charlie Yates, her personal writing god, it's a break too big to pass up. So Emma moves to LA for 6 weeks to do this writing gig, and they say, don't ever meet your heroes, and I guess that's how that starts off. He doesn't want to write with anybody, much less a failed nobody screenwriter. When they go to rewrite this script, she thinks it's terrible. He doesn't care about it. He just wants to get something greenlit, and he doesn't believe in love. She stands up for herself and for her writing and for love, and she has to convince him that love stories do matter, even if she has to kiss him senseless to do it. But what if that kiss is accidentally amazing? But what if real life turns out to be much more real than fiction? What if the love story they're writing breaks all of Emma's rules and comes true? I've read like one Catherine Zenner book, and I've listened to a few of her audiobooks, and I just love her writing. I love her stories and the way she tells them. And I do have The Bodyguard on order, so I will be getting that in too. But this is one I may not buy like right away, but I definitely want to keep on my radar for when I catch up with some of her backlog. The next two are two of the thrillers coming out this year that are like top tier on my list. They both come out on the 18th of June, and the first is Lucy Foley's The Midnight Feast. I'm a big Lucy Foley fan. I've read, I believe, her entire backlist. I'm not 100% sure, but I've read like The Guest List, The Hunting Party, The Paris Apartment. I don't know if she has other ones. And then I know this one's coming out, obviously. To be determined, I'll let you know if I've read it. All of her backlist. So the synopsis is basically a locked room murder mystery, which a lot of hers are, I feel like. A lot of her stories are this group of people get together, whether it was like The Guest List, which is putting these people on an island for a wedding and they're secluded, or The Hunting Party, which is people going out into the woods to a cabin for the weekend, or The Paris Apartment, when it's all the people in the apartment building that are trying to figure out a mystery. So we have the founder, the husband, the mystery guest, and the kitchen help. It's the opening night of the manor. No expense, small or large, has been spared. The infinity pool sparkles. Crystal pouches for guests' healing have been placed in seaside cottages and the woodland hutches. The Manor Mule cocktail, grapefruit, ginger, vodka, and a dash of CBD oil is being poured with a heavy hand, and everyone is wearing linen. But under the burning midsummer sun, darkness stirs. Old friends and enemies circulate among the guests. Just outside the manor's immaculately kept grounds, an ancient forest bristles with secrets. And the Sunday morning of opening weekend, the local police are called. Something's not right with the guest. There's been a fire, and a body's been discovered. The last little tag says, it all began with a secret 15 years ago. Now the past has crashed the party, and it'll end in murder at the Midnight Feast. I do enjoy Lucy's books. She is one of my favorite thriller mystery authors. I will definitely be picking this one up, as well as the next book, for a special vlog. So I will be reading these two and soon, and I will be vlogging that experience. So keep an eye out for that. The next one is Middle of the Night by Riley Sager. Also comes out on the 18th. So this is about two little boys that go to bed in their backyard. They have a tent set up in there. They have a little sleepover. They're 10 years old. In the morning, one of them wakes up alone. During the night, something has sliced the tent open with a knife, and the one little boy is missing, and he's never seen again. 30 years later, the boy that survived has reluctantly returned to his childhood home. Plagued by bad dreams and insomnia, he begins to notice strange things happening in the middle of the night. Someone seems to be roaming the cul-de-sac at odd hours, and signs of Billy's presence keep appearing in Ethan's backyard. Is someone playing a cruel prank, or has Billy, long thought to be dead, somehow returned to Hemlock Circle? So this prompts Ethan to investigate what really happened. This reunites him with his former neighbors and friends and leads him into the woods that surround Hemlock Circle. And the closer he gets to the truth, the more he realizes that no place, be it quiet forest or suburban street, is completely safe, and that the past has a way of haunting the present. I don't know why woods are always in, like, thrillers. I get that they're creepy and they're unpredictable and whatever, but everyone has woods. Very much looking forward to that. I also am pretty sure he's a closeted Taylor Swift fan, because the one, I think it was The House Across the Lake, has a blurb from Nobody No Crime as, like, the epigraph. And this is called Middle of the Night, which just makes me think of Ready for It, because she sings in the middle of the night in that song. So pretty sure he's a closeted Taylor Swift fan, or maybe not so closeted if he's making it that obvious. And then the final book that comes out in June is A Novel Love Story by Ashley Poston. This comes out June 25th, and I do have this one pre-ordered. She will now forever be an auto-buy author for me. I loved The Dead Romantics. I absolutely adored The 7 Year Slip. She writes magical realism romances, and she is yet to not hit for me. So this one is about a girl that loves to get lost in a good happily ever after, the fictional kind. But at least imaginary men don't leave you at the altar. She feels safe in a book at home, which may be why she's so set on going to her annual book club retreat this year. She needs good friends, cheap wine, and a grand romantic gesture no matter what. But when her car unexpectedly breaks down on the way, she finds herself stranded in a quaint town that feels like it's right out of a novel, because it is. The place can't be real, and yet she's here, in Ellerton, the town of her favorite romance series, where the candy store's honey taffy is always sweet, the local bar's burgers are always a little burnt, and rain always comes in the afternoon. It feels like home. It's perfect and perfectly frozen, trapped in the late author's last unfinished story. She is sure that that's why she must be here, to help bring the town to its storybook ending, except there's a character that she can't place, a grumpy bookstore owner with mint green eyes and an irritatingly sexy mouth with impeccable taste in novels, and he does not want her finishing this book, which is a problem, because she's beginning to think that the town's happily ever after might just be intertwined with her own. So, that one sounds so great. I'm so excited for this book. I will be reading this as soon as it hits my doorstep. Period. That day. I will make sure that I'm done with whatever book I'm reading that day so that I can immediately start reading this when it comes to my door. Okay, so that's all the books that I have coming out in June. Now we'll move on to July. Okay, so July. Starting on July 2nd, we have Reckless, which is the second book in the Powerless trilogy by Lauren Roberts. This just comes, I can't really read much about this because if you haven't read Powerless, read it. But also I don't want to ruin anything that happens, but this is basically just going to pick up after with Kai and Peyton's story and the events that happened at the end of the first book. So there's going to be a little bit of a shift in power based on what I've been reading about what this book's going to entail. So I'm very excited to see how Kai handles that, coming from the world that he's from, where the elites have just powered everything and nobody questions them. So should be very interesting. I did just read Powerful, which was the novella that came out that follows Powerless, and it follows a different character. It follows her, Peyton's best friend, and I loved that. I knew how it was going to end because if you've read Powerless, which you're supposed to read first, you know how Powerful is going to end, and it was, I feel like, more heart-wrenching this time, but I cannot wait to see where this picks up and where she goes with the rest of the story. The next book is also the second in a series. It is called The Darkness Within Us by Tricia Levenseller, and it is the book that follows The Shadows Between Us, which I don't believe was originally supposed to be a series. I think it was just supposed to be a standalone. But I have this book pre-ordered. I have not read The Shadows Between Us. I have a beautiful special edition scheduled to come to me in June. So I will read that before I get this special edition coming out on July 9th. And I again can't read too much of what happens in this because I don't even know what happened in the first book, so I don't even want to read it yet. But this is the second book in that series. It is being considered a companion novel, so I'm not sure that it's technically a book 1, a book 2. You may be able to read them separately. I will follow up on that once I've actually read them. Next is a book that releases July 16th, and that is The Lost Story by Meg Schaefer. I recently just read The Wishing Game by her. I think it was just like a contemporary fiction book, and I loved it. That book, I believe, was inspired by Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, and this book is supposed to be inspired by the Chronicles of Narnia. So this says, as boys' best friends Jeremy Cox and Raph Howell went missing in a vast West Virginia state forest, only to mysteriously reappear 6 months later with no explanation for where they'd gone or how they'd survived. 15 years after their miraculous homecoming, Rafe is a reclusive artist who still bears scars inside and out but has no memory of what happened during those months. Meanwhile, Jeremy has become a famed missing persons investigator. With his uncanny abilities, he is the one person who can help vet tech Emily Wendell find her sister, who vanished in the very same forest as Rafe and Jeremy. Jeremy alone knows the fantastical truth about the disappearances, for while the rest of the world was searching for them, the two missing boys were in a magical realm filled with impossible beauty and terrible danger. He believes it is there that they will find Emily's sister. However, Jeremy has kept Raph in the dark since their return for his own inscrutable reasons, but the time for burying secrets has come to an end as the quest for Emily's sister begins. The former Lost Boys must confront their shared past, no matter how traumatic the memories. So yeah, they return to that enchanted world and try to find Emily's sister. So that sounds really fun. I really enjoyed the deeper parts of The Wishing Game, so I'm hoping that this book hits the same way. Again, not one that I'm immediately going to go around out and buy, but I definitely will have my eye on for when I'm looking for new books to add to my ever-growing TBR. Then July 30th, we have another Karen M. McManus book coming out called Such Charming Liars. So I love Karen M. McManus. I have read quite a few of her books. I have a few more to read. And her stories are just fast-paced, fun, mystery, YA novels. They all kind of have similar settings, but she's almost like a comfort author because I know what I'm going to get out of her books, and she's a book I reach for when I want something that I know is predictable and that I know I'm going to want to read. So this one says, for all of Kat's life, it's just been her and her mother, Jamie, except for the 48 hours when Jamie was married and Kat had a stepbrother, Liam. That all ended in an epic divorce, and Kat and Liam haven't spoken since. Now Jamie is a jewel thief trying to go straight, but she has one last job at billionaire Ross Sutherland's birthday party, and Kat has figured out a way to tag along. What Kat doesn't know, though, is that there are 2 surprise guests at the dazzling Sutherland compound that weekend. The last 2 people she wants to run into, Liam and his father, a serial scammer who has his sights set on Ross Sutherland's youngest daughter. Kat and Liam are on a collision course to disaster, and when a Sutherland dies, they realize they might actually be in the killer's crosshairs themselves. Somehow, Kat and Liam are the new targets, and they can't trust anyone except each other. Or can they? Because if there's one thing both Kat and Liam know, it's how to lie. They learned from the best. Probably just gonna be a fun, quick YA mystery novel, and I know I'm one of those people that will rate a book and enjoy a book and think a book is fun if I enjoyed it. If I'm enjoying myself while I'm reading it, it doesn't have to be the best written book. It doesn't have to be the most complex storylines, the most complex characters. If I have a good time while I'm reading it, it's a good book to me. And that's what her books have been. And then the final book, also coming out July 30th, another one of my auto-buy authors, is The Grandest Game by Jennifer Lynn Barnes. So I believe this is going to be part of a new series that is still part of the Inheritance Games universe, but it is not considered a continuation of the Inheritance Games like the Brothers Hawthorne was, and there is another book coming out in, I believe, November that I have pre-ordered that is the 5th book in the Inheritance Games. But this is considered an Inheritance Games novel, just not part of that series, if that makes sense. I do have this one pre-ordered as well. And again, her books are just a fun time. They're fun YA mystery novels. I love the characters involved, and I can't wait to see where she goes with this new one. This is still the characters from the Inheritance Games. So it says 7 tickets, an island of dreams, the chance of a lifetime. Welcome to The Grandest Game, an annual competition run by billionaire Avery Grahams and the 4 infamous Hawthorne brothers whose family fortune she inherited. Designed to give anyone a shot at fame and fortune, this year's game requires one of 7 golden tickets to enter. With millions on the line, those 7 players will do whatever it takes to win. Some of the players are in it for the money, some for power, some for reasons all their own. Every single one of them has secrets. Amidst it all is Grayson Hawthorne, tasked with a vital role in this year's game. But as tension rises and the mind-bending challenges push the players to their limits, physically, mentally, and emotionally, it soon becomes clear that not everyone is playing by the rules. Grayson and Jameson seem to be the 2 brothers that are constantly talked about in these books, even though there are 4 brothers. Nash and, what is his name? Nash and Xander are they're the oldest and the youngest. Jameson and Grayson are the middle children. They're talked about more. I'm hoping we get to see more of Nash and Xander in, I just looked up Games Untold, which is the 5th book in the Inheritance Games, but it doesn't. Oh, okay, so I'll get into this more next time I do one of these books, but Games Untold is actually like a series of novellas. So I believe we are going to get a little bit more of Nash and Xander, because there are ones that in this series of novellas that do seem very much aimed at them. So I'm excited for that. But Grayson is they're all troubled, but Grayson is very troubled. So I'm interested to see how he's going to tie into The Grandest Game and the storyline there. So we'll see. All right, and last but not least, we'll close out with books that come out in August. First up, coming out August 6th, is the sequel to Assistant to the Villain by Hannah Nicole Maurer, which is Apprentice to the Villain. Cannot talk too much about it, but I'm very excited for this. It takes place, obviously, after the events that ended out Assistant to the Villain, and I'm very excited for this. I believe it's going to be a trilogy, because I was just starting to feel the romance between Evie and the villain at the end of the first book. I really didn't get much of it during the first book. It was right towards the end that I started seeing more than just friendship between them. And I'm very much excited to see where that continues, where the story continues. There is like a big bad in it that's not the villain, so this is continuing that storyline as well. I'm going to read the synopsis for myself on the side, but I will not read it out loud because, again, it's the sequel to a book that's already out. Also coming out on August 6th is Maureen Johnson's new book, Death at Morning House. So she is the author of the Truly Devious series. It's something that I've been wanting to read. It's a YA mystery series, and this follows along the same lines as that. It's a YA mystery. It says that a teen uncovers a mystery while working as a tour guide on an island and must solve it before history repeats itself. The fire wasn't Marlo Wexler's fault. Dates should be hot, but not hot enough to warrant literal firefighters. Alika, the girl Marlo has been in love with for years, will never go out with her again. No one dates an accidental arsonist. With her house-sitting career up in flames, it seems the universe owes Marlo a summer job, and that is how she ends up at Morning House, a mansion built on an island in the 1920s and abandoned shortly thereafter. It's easy enough giving tours, low risk of fire. High chance of getting bored talking about stained glasses and nut cutlets and prohibition. Oh, and the deaths. Did anyone mention the deaths? Maybe this job isn't such a gift after all. Morning House has a horrific secret that's been buried for decades, and now the person who brought her here is missing. All it takes is one clue to set off catastrophic chain of events. One small detail, just like a spark, could burn it all down if someone doesn't bury Marlo first. Very excited for that. I've heard great things about the Truly Devious series. It's very highly rated. I do plan on reading it at some point. This may be actually the book I buy before that, just to see if I like this standalone novel by her, or what is as of right now a standalone novel. And then if I enjoy her writing style, I may go out and grab the Truly Devious trilogy and go from there. I believe it's now 5 books, but there's an original trilogy. And also coming out on August 6th is another thriller mystery called Here Lies a Vengeful Bitch by Cody Crawley. The title is what caught my attention, obviously. But it's a fast-paced thriller, and it is a debut novel that delivers a horror-infused hunt for justice that's at once fiercely feminist, darkly funny, and utterly satisfying. Between her careless mom, her cheating ex-boyfriend, and her rotten reputation around town, Annie Lane is used to being left behind, but she's never been left for dead before, until she wakes up to find her body's been dumped on a mountain rumored to raise the dead. Annie can't remember who killed her, but she'll stop at nothing to figure it out and make them pay, because girls like her don't get justice unless they take it for it themselves. Very short synopsis. Honestly, the title caught my attention, and then I read the synopsis. It sounds like it could be fun. I don't know. We'll see. It's a debut. Can't really go off of anything else by this author, but it's something that I definitely have my eye on to pick up maybe in the fall. Next up is Adalyn Grace's 3rd book in the Belladonna series, Wisteria. Can't talk too much about the synopsis, but Belladonna is a romantasy book about a girl and death. I have not read it yet. I do own it, but these covers are gorgeous. I know that a lot of people didn't like Foxglove, which was the 2nd book. People adored Belladonna, did not love Foxglove, but I will be picking them both up, and I will be grabbing Wisteria once I do catch up, because these books are just absolutely gorgeous, and I do want them on my bookshelf, regardless if I love them or not. So that will be getting picked up. That comes out August 20th. Okay, so that's all of the books that I really wanted to talk about that have definitely grabbed my attention that are coming out in the next few months. There are probably more that I missed or that I forgot about, but I just wanted to hit on some of the ones that were sitting at the top of my head, and I cannot wait to pick some of these up, the ones that I have not already pre-ordered. They will most likely be in a vlog at some point, so keep an eye out for all of that. And I thank you if you've made it this far in the video. If you like my content, please don't forget to like and subscribe, and I will hopefully see you in the next video.